when I was a little kid, my next door neighbor and I, we had fun, and we'd have circuses in our garage, and we would have kids come, and they'd pay a nickel to come and see our circus. We had curtains in there, we had little light bulbs in there, and we'd tell jokes, we'd do a strongman act, we'd do a magic act, we'd do some other stuff like that, and we kept the doors closed so it'd get really hot, and then they'd come out and we'd sell them lemonade. In high school, I was more tech. I worked on building sets, painting sets, setting lights, adjusting sound, microphones and all that, recording, special effects, things like that as well. Even back then in this, what would that be, 60s? Yeah. I had to try and think of what it was. Back in the 60s, I bought a 16 millimeter movie camera to go out and film stuff, to do a Mission Impossible theme for a homecoming thing, and then build a strobe light to do. Yeah, it made some people sick, but how did I know? So that, I did maybe a couple of acting things there. I played a dead body in a one-act play, and then the captain soldier was supposed to kick me to knock me over to see if I'm really dead, and I went off the stage into the orchestra pit. College, I didn't think about that. I was a science nerd. I liked fire, as you well know, and I made blow torches. I did light the neighbor's garage on fire, but we got that out. That was a mistake. Made noxious gases, chlorine, bromine, all this kind of stuff. Science, I thought, I want to be a scientist. First class in science, I realized that I'd be all alone in this little room with little containers doing important stuff that I had no interest in. I was done with that. And so then I thought, well, maybe I could do something in speech or theater. And I started working on the set, and I was in a couple plays, and so away I went. And that's probably why I couldn't do anything else. But when I came to Walnut Grove as a youngster and tried to become principal, the only question that Al Farber at that time on the board, and he's a big man. Some people think he looks a lot like John Wayne, and he's a boxer, so you don't mess with him. But he came to me and he said, "Say," and then he just drops his voice down. He says, "Say, we've got this show we're doing in the summer. Would you be interested in being a part of that?" Well, what am I going to say? I want a job. So I said, yeah. I had no idea. I didn't even know who Laura Ingalls Wilder was. I'm whispering that, but that's true. But people before that had no idea that Walnut Grove, they thought it was California because there were mountains in the show, but it was here where the Ingalls lived that the show was based on, on the banks of the Plum Creek Brook. Augie was the visionary. Now, somehow between these two gentlemen, and I must also mention, although we're focusing on the men in this show, that Shirley Knockmoose, who was the director of the museum that they had started a little bit before that, was also super instrumental in getting this thing rolling and played Margaret Olson with a flair for many years. So they formed a committee, and they asked me to join and get in, and I said, yes, I will. And they're going to do a stage that's very much like the stage they did in the building. It was a Shakespearean thrust stage. If you know what that is, it's platforms. And it was made out of old wood from all the different farm sites. So when they asked me about it, I said, well, you're doing this outside, right? You want this to be bigger. You want this to be something more. So this is like February, somewhere in February. And I come back. So I made 3D models out of balsa wood to show them what I thought would be sets that they could use, considering they were going to have at least a building out there to house stuff. And I thought, they'll never do this. This is crazy. I mean, I liked it, but and they looked at it and I said, yeah, that's it. We'll do that. And between February and July, in those few months, 4 buildings were put up, lighting was installed, bathrooms, kind of like pit toilets, ticket booth, parking lot. All that was built by the community. It was a frenzy of excitement, and it was amazing. And I look back at these two gentlemen as the ones who were the real driving force. I got a call from Marv one winter. It was probably January, and he said, "Bill, there's that scene where we have the dugout and la la la. There should be smoke coming out of the smokestack there." I said, "Yeah." Let's go see if we can do that. This is January. It's freezing cold out there. He's already got a smokestack setting on top of the dugout, and he's got these little smoke bombs, and he's tried different colors. The man wanted it to be as close to perfect as it could be. A gentleman with a wry sense of humor, much appreciated. You know, when something needs to be done, you just do it. At the beginning, it was designing and building the set along with the Farbers and others, many members of the community. And then it was refining that and thinking ahead to what else could be and getting others involved in the construction, in the destruction, rebuilding of sets. That was big. The lighting at the beginning, we did an agreement between the school and the pageant to purchase our first set of lights. Then we had a little booth, probably 8 feet long and maybe 6 feet, and most of it was dirt, and it had some wooden walls to hold it. And Ross Alford, the director at that time, he was kind of a chain smoker, and he'd get excited and he'd rush out, and it was not that tall, and he was 6 foot something, and he would bang his head on that. Eugene Swanson, who worked the light board for a long time, or sound, I think, light board, got him a helmet so he didn't become unconscious. I worked on publicity and photography, sound, done some writing of scripts, and more recently a whole series of 3 that reinvents, expands on the production. Back in 1990, I got together with an author from the cities, a Mark Rosenwinkel, also a professional actor and a teacher of theater, and William Anderson, author. We got together in Chanhassen in a hotel room and blocked out what we thought should be the rebirth of the pageant. Because when it was first done, James Merchant wrote this as a college project. But then he got hired to go out and work for somewhere in Hollywood. And he didn't finish it. And his dad, Ralph, who was a huge promoter of the pageant, kept calling him and said, "Jim, we're rehearsing. We need Act 2." So we finally got Act 2. Act 2 is a lot shorter than Act 1, which is okay. It follows the book to some extent and then switches gears to the very end when he's elected to the city council and they leave. And, well, at that point, Ma had the most lines ever, like 300-400 lines. And as we looked at it, that's one thing we wanted to do, is have more things for children and balance out so Ma didn't have everything, because it made it almost too much. Nobody'd want to do it year after year if you had that. So we did revise it. We created that old Laura character that we have, and that kind of balanced the lines out a little bit, and we switched some of it out to the children. It's been modified by each director since then. But then when it came to looking at it again, we thought, with a lot of new information, local historian Dan Peterson has a huge book of information about Walnut Grove. The story really didn't take into context everything else that was going on. Not that you can show everything, but at least you can show things that they would have been aware of or could have been interested in that might have had an impact on how this everything happened, even though Laura wrote it from a child's perspective. So got together again with William Anderson, with Mr. Rosenwinkel, and with a Pamela Smith who'd written a book on Laura, and doing a lot more research, we came up with this trilogy because it was just too much to put into 1 year. The Star Wars of the Prairie, no, we didn't think that name was good, but it's kind of, you needed to have more time to tell it adequately. And so we're now in the beginning of the cycle. We've gone through the second and third years of the production and are ready to start over with year 1, which will be more similar to the original production, except we've cleaned up some of the context and got the right people that should have been there at that time, and we add more to it that would have happened actually when they were here. It's been quite a ride. It's not what I expected. But the most important thing, the very most important thing that I've accomplished actually happened in the second year that I was here. Now we're working on building the building out there and getting the rear screen projection set up, and I'm falling asleep up there. It's about midnight. We used to sleep out there in case somebody would rob us. Nobody would rob us. Nobody has. I mean, Anyway, I fall asleep on the scaffold. It's like this. And who wakes me up? but Tina Anderson, who was out there with the drawings that began a relationship that continues in a marriage with 3 grown children. That's the most important thing, right there. They all acted in it for a brief time. The boys, you come in, you do one thing and you go, that's not for me. I'd rather work backstage. People got to find their niche. Erin, on the other hand, really took to it and has been, I think she's almost been directing as long as I have. I mean, she's done it for quite a number of years and does a very nice job. We consult and visit, and I give her ideas, and she says, not that, Dad. Which is fine. I mean, it's like the script. We do a read-through, which we just did on this redo, and it's not me anymore. It's not mine anymore. I'm not concerned about someone saying, that line is stupid. I mean, maybe it is. If other people think it's stupid, I want it to be something that communicates the best with the audience. And if what I've written doesn't do it, I don't care. Get rid of it. Fix it. If you look at the scripts, they have initials by each individual scene, because some of the scenes are originally from James Merchant. So there's a JM, and then it's been adapted by me or Mark or somebody. A lot of the new stuff, it's mine, but I don't really take full ownership of that, because the ideas come from when we do the reading of the draft. Like last year's, that was draft 8 of the show, because people would say, hey, no, fix that. And we had people do read-throughs, and then they'd make comments, and they'd say, this doesn't look right, this is wrong. It's a community that has actually ended up with the final writing credit. Well, of course, there's so many, though, it's difficult to pick. I'll pick a couple. Some of it wasn't during the show, the performance. One of my more shocking experiences out there was working on the fire line. That's always been an issue of will it go, won't it go? One of the things I tried was a neon light transformer. And I thought, I'll try this out, see if this works, because I can remotely operate and everything. Well, what I didn't realize is that the ground was kind of damp, and my leg was on one of the pipes. And when I hit that thing to start it, I don't remember, but I know that I flipped completely over backwards and landed on my butt because of the jerk that you get from that shock. I mean, the amps are low, but the voltage is like 28,000 volts. So it was awe-inspiring, and I didn't do that again. Another great time. Okay, we had a tornado warning out there, so we had to suspend the show for a while. The booth, now that we have now, has all the concrete walls that's built in, so it's a perfect place. So all of these people, 50, 60, 80, I don't know how many people were in there, huge number of people. But in that, there was a lady, and she wanted to sit down, I guess, and so she did. But she sat on the flash attachment that we use, and she set it off. I don't know how she did that, because it's a double thing, but she must have had a lot of wiggle or something. And I'm telling you, it was exciting. It was exciting. I liked that. That was fun. Done a lot of work in the high school with theater there, and we'd like to see more. I mean, theater could be overdone too. I haven't got there yet, but it could be. And so it has a transformative power. First of all, you get both men and women working together. And secondly, usually it's ephemeral, though. It's one of those things where you do it and then all of a sudden everything's gone. And I had kids say that in high school. We'd build these huge sets. I like huge sets. We didn't need them, but I had to do that. And then the night when we're done with the show, it's gone. And they're sitting there at the end when we're done. They said, it's gone. I said, yeah, remember it. Remember it. And what did you take away from what you participated in that you can use in your regular life? Confidence. I can speak easily to people. I'm made some friends that I had no idea that I would be friends with these people, because they were theater people, or they're not. I have to say that in general, I find that the show backstage, the people and the way they interact and the way they talk and work with each other, playing chess and checkers, drawing, playing guitar, singing, just visiting, bringing treats all the time. That to me is the best part of the show. Yeah, we do the show for the public and we want to connect with them. I think that's perhaps the thing that we work on more strongly. I mean, we have a few things that are spectacle, and they're a lot of fun. I love that. But I know that, we're not Disney, and we're not a Taylor Swift concert, because our tickets are a lot cheaper. What we do have is the ability to make a strong connection with the audience. And time and again, when we really hit it, and not every night do you hit it, it's like a basketball game, for those of you who are sports people, there's sometimes you win, there's sometimes you don't. And you just go back, you regroup, and you talk about what went well, what didn't, and you come out again. So when people think, oh, I saw that play. No, you didn't. You saw a play. Every play we do, every night, it's different. Not always intentionally either, but still, it's different. And sometimes you hit the mark and you have that audience. You see people either laughing out loud crazy, or you see people in the back row crying because of the way it impacts them. Well, actually, I can't take credit for that. I mean, think of your set crew, how crazy they are. I may have a partial idea, and then Alexander and the crew, they go nuts. I mean, and they make things work and make it fun. Now we're working on bathrooms. I can't leave that out. When we started, it was the Cleveland's potting shed for plants. Now they moved up, of course, to Flushers, but they've been there for 40 years, and they're gone. And now we're halfway to a new restroom, which will be handicap accessible, very clean, very strong, can double as a tornado shelter. It depends on, I think, the continuing ability to excite people. Over time, when I got started, I didn't have any idea where this was going. I look back on the minutes, and that's the only reason that I can even talk about how amazing it was to get that built. I didn't even think about it at the time. Things just happened. And so now time is a little more crazy for people. You don't have as many farmers, so you don't necessarily have, I don't want to call it downtime, but available time to move, when they think, I can do this at another time, I can do the show. And you have people traveling a lot to work. They're going to Marshall or Wyndham or New Ulm or a number of places, so they don't have those 4 hours of volunteer time every day that they could participate. The most important thing they're concerned about is climate change, because these past couple of years they've been hit with a lot of weather-related events, whether it's been the flooding in North Carolina that took out a couple theaters, or if it's just the unpredictability of it. So it is, and when it comes, it's more violent. It may not be as often, but when it hits, it's crazy. One of the California theaters, not this terrifying storm season with the 100-mile-an-hour winds, but they had another one where they couldn't even go to practice at their theater because of the smog alerts that were out there. It's just lots of things that affect an outdoor theater. More truth about Laura. I mean, we've uncovered a lot of different things, and it's not necessarily bad things. It's just more accurate, and I think that's a good thing, which I think will make our story more interesting to people over time. When I came here in '78, I was taken for a ride by some of the faculty who, with a mixture of things in the car, drove around in the middle of the night, and one of them slurred to me and said, "You're a good blankety blank, but you won't last 6 months." And here I am.
How many years later?
Yeah, well, 48, 50. And so it's always an unexpected turn. So tomorrow, who knows what will happen? Something different. Oh, yeah.